The Shulchan Aruch mentions two minhagim, two customs that are related to the time period which we call Sefirat Omer, from the second day of Pesach until the day before, and including the day before Shavuot. The first is the Shulchan Aruch Tov Tzadi Gimel says, Noagim shelo lisa isha ben Pesach la'atzeret ad Lag BaOmer, that the minhag is not to marry a woman between Pesach and Shavuot until the 33rd day of the Omer. In Seif Bet, the Shulchan Aruch says, Nohagim shelo lehistaper ad Lag BaOmer. There's another minhag, which is not to take a haircut. This is the Mechaber, not to take a haircut from the days from Pesach, the second day of Pesach, until Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer somehow being a special time. So the first halacha seems to contradict the second halacha. The first halacha about marriage is about the period of time from Pesach until Atzeret, till Lag BaOmer, right? There's some sort of confusing nisuach formulation here, whereas when it comes to taking a haircut, the Mechaber says until Lag BaOmer, until the 33rd day of the Omer. But before we try to explain the timing here, let's understand what the cause of this minhag is. So the Shulchan Aruch unabashedly says, Mipnei sheba'oto zman metu talmidei Rabbi Akiva. During that period of time, which is either from Pesach until Shavuot or from Pesach until Lag BaOmer, during that period of time, the students of Rabbi Akiva met an untimely death. So if we try to remind ourselves, what is it that the Shulchan Aruch is referring to? So the Shulchan Aruch, of course, is referencing a Gemara in Yevamos, Samach Bet, Amud Bet, 62b. And there, the Gemara says that there were 24,000 students. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, and they all died in this period of time between Pesach and Shavuot. Since the rationale is lo nahagu kavod ze bazeh, they did not treat each the other in an honorable fashion, and they did not consider or were not concerned, each of them, about the Torah of his fellow. And so they were punished. And the punishment was that they died a horrible death because they spoke idly about their fellows, and they would speak each about the other in a way that was not becoming. And therefore, as a result of this tragic event in history, the minhag is that we don't marry during these days, and also we don't cut our hair. So that the Gemara says that during this period of time, there was an event in Jewish history of such tragic magnitude that it was impossible for the generations to ignore. Rabbi Akiva, who in many ways was the savior of the tradition, who passed on Torah to the future generations in an organized and serious manner. Not Rabbi Akiva alone, but Rabbi Akiva playing a central role, was also involved in the great tragedy described in the Gemara. And while it's hard for us to imagine that this is referring to a historical reality, the numbers are tremendous, and the event is mind-boggling, that people who study Torah all the time, or Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, should be involved in such a disastrous enterprise, speaking Lashon Hara, each about the other. Nevertheless, we understand that perhaps in the fire of learning Torah, in the excitement of trying to make the learning of Torah significant, in trying to press a point, we might somehow overstep our bounds. And so in history, it was seen as such an important lesson that even though we exist through the Torah, nevertheless, we have to be careful learning the Torah. And as a result, these days became days associated with mourning. The mourning is reflected in the fact that we don't marry and we don't cut our hair during the period of time known as Sefirat Omer.